Well, good morning, everyone. Today we have Psalm 20, which is a psalm of David. And it goes like this. May the Lord answer you when you are in distress. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings. May he give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed. May we shout for joy over your victory and lift up our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord grant all your requests. Now this I know, the Lord gives victory to his anointed. He answers him from his heavenly sanctuary with the victorious power of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They are brought to their knees and fall, but we rise up and stand firm. Lord, give victory to the King. Answer us when we call. Yeah. When I first read this, I thought, oh, that's a nice psalm. All this sort of nice talk about God being our help and giving us the desires of our heart, and the way that he's sort of completely trustworthy and gives us victory, or gives his anointed victory, and the importance of trusting in him. And then I thought about it more and I thought, not quite so sure about this, because you read the first half and it feels like that sort of idea of slot machine God. You ask, he gives. You sacrifice and make the offerings. He remembers you and gives you what you want, which in this case appears to be victory on the battlefield. And the more I thought about that, I thought, that makes me a bit uncomfortable because it doesn't really tally with my experience of life. I can tell you that God doesn't grant all my requests, and that's probably just as well, because sometimes I ask for stupid stuff and all my plans do not succeed, which is just as well because often they are stupid plans. Then I read it again and I realized that that's actually not what we're being presented with here. And if anything, I got even more disturbed because what I think the first part of this psalm is, in verse 1 to 6, is David talking and he's wishing good things for somebody he cares about. He's giving a blessing. He's saying, I want the best for you. I want God to protect you. I want all your plans to succeed. He's not explaining how God works. He's saying what he wants to happen. And then it sort of pivots in verse 6 and David says, now this I know. So he's finished saying what he wants and starts talking about how he understands God to work. And that sort of disturbed me a bit because it's clear he lives in a very different world to us. In this world, in his world, God has made a covenant with a single nation, the Jews, and he shows favor on his people. And what he really wants is success in battle. And it seems to be the idea of, a God who's worth worshipping is the person who delivers that. And I thought, this idea of God proving himself, showing himself worthy of worship by aiding you in battle strikes me as a bit Bronze Age and rather distasteful to modern ears. The idea that God would have a favorite people and he would support them in scraps with other powers. It's not how we expect a loving, just God to behave. And I think this way of thinking that God, you are really on God's side and justified in what you are doing, even if it involves killing people, That's led to an awful lot of really bad things happening, many of them done by sincere Christians who believed they were doing the right thing. And an illustration of how nuts this can get comes from the English Civil War. Back then, armies had field words, which were like a password, so you could work out whose side people were on, because there was no such thing as a uniform in the early part of the Civil War. And at the Battle of Cheriton, both sides chose the password, God with us, because they both thought that they were on God's side. Of course, it led to some confusion on the battlefield. Both of them had the same password, so they had to quickly think of different ones. And it told them an important truth. Both sides really thought they were on God's side and were so convicted of this that they were prepared to fight each other to the death. I don't think it's just modern people who find this sort of ways of thinking disturbing. The early church found it very difficult to reconcile their vision of God, who was for everyone, for Jew, for Greek, with the very partisan picture of God, who appears quite okay with using battle and slaughter to achieve his aims, that you do find in the Jewish Bible. And some early Christians, like Marcion, decided that what they had to do was ditch the Old Testament altogether. But most, in fact, nearly all of the early church theologians said, no, you can't do that, Marcion, you're a heretic. However problematic the Jewish scriptures are and the portrait of God they present were, they couldn't be set aside. It's an important part of the story of the people of God. It's an important part of our story. We can't walk away from it. And so instead they tended to interpret the Old Testament allegorically, seeing everything, however obscure, as somehow pointing towards Jesus. But I think if we're not happy or comfortable with the idea of God showing himself who he is by aiding people in battle, there are elements of this psalm we can cling to. The first thing is, it's okay and a good thing to wish people well, to bless them. In this psalm, David is saying something to someone, I want good things for you. And that's a good mindset. We should all want good things from God, from our brothers and sisters in blood and in Christ. And we should ask God for that. And the second thing this psalm tells us is God will prevail eventually. It talks about the Lord giving victory to his anointed. And ultimately, that's Jesus, who really is the chosen one, the anointed, who's triumphed over sin and death. We may not see that victory here on earth, but it has been won, and we will see it, and we will share in it. And when it feels like the church is in retreat, and Jesus is getting smaller rather than bigger, as it does in the Western world today, we need to hold on to that hope. And that's all I have for you.